something that you just been dying to say. We do, girl, I believe.
My name is Lindsey LEMKE. In 2016, I decided to publicly identify myself as a victim of Larry Nassar. Hello you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lindsey, and if you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. Cole is right here. He would also like to say hi to all of my followers. Yeah? Wouldn't you? Yeah. Say hello. Can you say hello to everybody? And shake my camera all over the place while you're at it? Okay. So today's video is going to be episode 3 in the Survivor series, and it is going to be the court sentencing of Larry Nassar. I've gotten a bunch of questions of what court was like and what the mood was, what was it like seeing Larry, just kind of when did court really take its turn for the better. So I figured I would just dedicate an entire video towards it for you guys, so that way you're getting the full information and the full download kind of on what went on from the parts where I can actually speak about. So court for Larry Nassar was in January of 2018. It was this year, and it was a whirlwind of emotions, let me tell you. It was just... Well, from the beginning, there was only supposed to be around 50 girls speaking in court to give their victim impact statements, and I was not one of them. By the end of court, which was 7 days long, there were over 150 girls that gave impact statements. So that was just a very cool thing, because we went from only 50 girls wanting to give a statement to really building up our army and getting all of these girls to find their voice and their strength and their courage to get up there and have that closure against him. So that in itself was just a huge standout of court to me. It was just very moving and very powerful, and I just am so proud of everybody that got up there and spoke, because it wasn't easy, and like I said, I wasn't even going to speak. It wasn't easy. It was very hard. Most people went up there and they cried. You know, they were shaking, they were nervous, but it was just so much emotions that you couldn't control it no matter how much you practiced giving your statement. Dude, hi, I see you. So the courtroom itself was not very big at all. So originally there were probably enough seats to maybe fit 30 to 40 people. When our sentencing was happening with Larry, they brought in extra chairs, they made extra rows, and they extended the rows into the aisle because there were so many people. And on top of that, we had an extra overflow room where we were streaming what was happening in the actual courtroom to that room so people could see what was going on. So every day court started at 9 a.m., but I was one of the ones who went to court every single day, and I was getting there with my mom about 7 a.m. just so that way we could get a seat actually inside the courtroom, because for me court was like therapy. I didn't expect to go day after day after day, but after the first day hearing the statements that were given, it almost was like therapy, because you started to relate to these girls and you didn't feel so alone. And I'll kind of go into that more about how we became like the army of survivors, but I really wanted to go to court every single day. We were getting to court at about 7 a.m. We would wait the 2 hours for court to begin, and impact statements would start. We would give impact statements, you know, girl after girl after girl going up there to give her statement for about 3 to 4 hours. We would take lunch for an hour, and then we would come back and do statements until 5 p.m. and then the day was done. Judge Aquilina would cut it off, and then we'd come back in the next day and do the very same thing for 7 days. So as you can imagine, that was very mentally and emotionally and just physically exhausting, because it's not like a normal 9 to 5 work day where you're used to doing the same things or going to class and then practice, or going to class and then tutoring, the things that I was used to. It was so long, but it was honestly so worth it. I never thought that I was going to have the strength and the courage that I did until I went to court and I was listening to all these girls speak. And I owe a lot of my strength and my courage to the girls that did speak, because, again, I wasn't going to. So being able to hear all of them speak really motivated me and gave me the courage to want to speak up and say my statement. Kyle Stevens was the first girl to go on the very first day, and she absolutely crushed it. I mean, she gave Larry a piece of her mind. I was so unbelievably proud of her. I hadn't even met her in that moment, but I just knew that after she gave her statement, I felt like she finally had at least some sense of closure because she was the very first person to speak, one, but two, also she's the only non-athlete, like non-medical person that he abused. So it was just very powerful for her to go first. And then from there, we just went girl after girl and we shared our stories and just let them know that you don't get to do this to us anymore. You lost and we won. Seeing Larry, like when you went up to the stand, he's just a totally different person. And obviously that rings true because he's a narcissist. So the person that we thought he was, you know, that caring, kind therapist, like doctor who was helping us with everything, that made everything seem okay, that wasn't even him. He wasn't even that person. He was a completely different person in disguise, doing things for his own pleasure, but that's just the person we thought he was. So seeing him up there, he's lost a ton of weight. He's got facial hair. He just looks grungy. He looks miserable, obviously, and I wasn't really afraid to look at him, but he would make eye contact with you when you were sitting like behind everybody speaking, like in the stands. He would look at you, he would give you almost like puppy dog eyes, like he was trying to make you feel guilty for him or feel bad for him. And I'm not gonna lie, and I know I've talked to a couple other people that have said this too, but you almost for a split second felt bad for him because, again, going back to, that's not the Larry that we knew. It was a completely different person. And so when we think back to the Larry that we knew, it's like seeing him go through the things that he was is like heartbreaking. But at the same time, you have to click back and you have to remember that that person doesn't even exist. That was never a real person. It was all just a scheme. So then you have to click back into that mindset of, nope, he's not that person. He's mean. He's just a terrible person. He's a narcissist. He's an abuser. Once you got back in that mindset, it was a little bit easier to not feel the guilt of what was going on. It was just really hard to kind of go in and out of that mindset, and I think that's part of the reason why court was so like exhausting, because you were constantly going back and forth between thinking of who Larry was, actually seeing him in person, and now really comprehending what had happened. So like I said, I originally wasn't going to speak. My parents spoke. They gave an impact statement. My parents wrote that statement, and it was their own words and what they wanted to say. My outlook on it was, if there's only one person that gets to speak for family and my parents want to speak, I'm going to let them speak, because at this time, I've been doing interviews for a year now. I wanted my parents to be able to have closure to Larry because of the fact that, like I said in previous videos, we were really good family friends with him. Just with that being said, they wanted to write their own statement, have their own closure, and that's what happened. And then as these girls were speaking and more people gave their statements, I was bullet pointing in my phone. I remember just sitting back in the rows, and someone would say something about John Getter, somebody would say something about USAG, somebody would say something about Kathy Klages, Luana Simons. All these other people were being brought up, excuse me. And I was bullet pointing, and I was like, these are the things that I would say to these people if I had the chance to see them in person. So I was like, you know what, this isn't going to do any good if I don't say it out loud and write it on paper, and I'm not going to be able to get it off my chest if I don't. So I went home that night, wrote up an impact statement within, I don't know, an hour and a half. I showed up to court the next day, and I'm like third to go, and I'm just like ready. Like, I actually was not nervous to give my impact statement whatsoever. I was ready to go. I was just frustrated, I was pissed, I was mad, and so I got up there and I didn't really have as many words for Larry as I did for the other people, because in my mind, Larry's sick. Like, he's a gross person, he's mentally ill, but these people who enabled him could have done something a long time ago and never did. So in my mind, I'm almost more upset at those people than I am at Larry, because those are the people that should have been the ones to stop it. And I let it all out. I confronted a bunch of people, and you guys, that moment when I was done, I went back and I watched my video, and I took a big deep breath, and then I said thank you to Judge Aquilina for letting me speak. And I've never felt such a big weight lifted off my shoulders in my entire life. I mean, like, I said thanks to John Getter, whether he heard it or not. I said thanks to John Getter in that speech that I've been holding in since I was, I don't know, 15 when I quit at Twistars. Like, it just felt so good. Thanks to my coach, Kathy, that she did that were so wrong, and I never got the chance to say anything to her because she just retired on suspension. Like, what? And so just being able to say those things and how poorly that they treated us and speaking on behalf of others as well was just so empowering to me. And a lot of people asked me when the turning point in court was, from when we showed up as girls who were individuals to give our closure to Larry, and when it switched to us being an army of survivors who were there as sisters supporting each other. And for me, and I don't mean this to be cocky, but it was the moment that I was done giving my impact statement and the entire courtroom stood up and started clapping. So previous, when people would be done giving their statements, everyone would just kind of give them a hug as they went by. It was silent. It just, there wasn't any, like, nothing. Like, it was just you would say your statement and then you'd go back and sit down. Well, when I got done giving my statement, everybody started clapping. And I remember I broke into tears and I told myself, I was like, I wasn't going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to be strong. And I grabbed my face and I bursted into tears. And for every person after that, we clapped for. And we let her know that we were there for her and we had her back. And that was truly, like I have goosebumps right now thinking about it, but that was the turning point of court when everything went from, we're here one by one to give our statement, to, nope, we're coming back day after day to support each other because we need it and we can relate and we've all been through this. And it was just a life-changing experience, and I am so, so, so grateful that I ended up giving my statement, because I think that if I wouldn't have, I would regret it to this day. So after finally the 150 girls, or however many ever, gave their statements, and I also just want to give a big shout out to Judge Aquilina if she ever watches this. I mean, day after day, the AJ would come in and say, we added 20 more statements, we added 15 more statements today, we added 10 more statements, and Judge Aquilina would say, let them speak. Every single time she continued to let more and more people get up there, and she easily could have said no. She easily could have said, nope, we're only having 50 girls speak and that's it. But every single day she gave everybody the opportunity to have closure, and it was just life-changing. It was the best, and she is the best, and we are so appreciative of her. And I think that she was meant to be a judge for that case. That is why her entire life, all the studying she did, all of the hard work, it was for that case, because she handled it so well. She was really the first person that I felt like truly believed us, that she gave us empathy and sympathy and just felt with us, and she knew. It wasn't that we were trying to get attention. It wasn't that we were this or that or whatever the negative things that people have said. It was that she truly cared about us healing and knew that that was a huge step in our healing process. So I think I speak on behalf of a ton of people when I say shout out to Judge Aquilina, because she absolutely handled it the best that we could have asked for. But finally, at the end of everybody giving their statements, Larry got to go up to the stand and write an apology statement. And I'm not kidding you guys, his apology statement was like a ripped piece of notebook paper, which is like fine. I'm assuming they don't get like stationery in jail. But basically it was just like, my intention was to never hurt you, blah, 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 this and that. Basically not putting any fault on himself. Basically it was, I didn't do anything wrong, this isn't my fault, I was only trying to help you, this is a medical procedure. Even after he had to sit through every single one of our statements and listen to everything. I mean, there were people who got up there and talked about their daughters or their friends that committed suicide. And he still, after all of that, did not feel 1 ounce of guilt or remorse or anything. The part for me, again, that was tough was I was picked to sit up by Judge Aquilina during the sentencing because we kind of wanted to give that extra, like, to him. And he looked right at me and he was like, I'm sorry for what I did to you. And like, literally inside of me, I'm like, I just felt guilty. Because now, like, he says that to you, and you're just like, you want to believe it because of the person that Larry was before all of this happened. But Judge Aquilina, I think, knew that he was going to say something like that. Like, I'm sure she's seen this in 100 cases, but I think she knew that he was going to get up there and try to make us feel guilty. And I can't remember exactly what she said back to him, but it was something along the lines of having remorse or guilt, and he just didn't show anything towards it. And that was just, like, the way that she ended it, I wish I could remember exactly what she said, but the way that she ended it was just, he deserves this, this is what he's getting. You were not trying to help these girls, you were harming them for your own pleasure. The second that she smacked her, what are those things called? I don't know. But the second that she smacked it on her desk, and Larry was taken away, everybody in the courtroom just started crying. Everybody. I don't think there was one person in the courtroom that was not crying. Tears of happiness, just pure exhaustion, just being let out. I mean, it was just, everybody was hugging everybody. We showed up 7 days before that to that court, not knowing a single person. and 7 days later we were a family. We knew each other's first names, last names, our stories, things that we liked doing, where we lived, where we were from, we grew to be a family in that 7 days. And when court was over, it was like almost sad that you weren't going to see these girls every single day. People had to fly back to where they were from. People had to go back to school, back to classes, and it was just like sad because being around that group of girls was just therapy, and it made you weren't alone, and you knew that even though it experienced different emotions from it, we all pretty much went through the same thing, and that was just the best form of healing, I think, for all of us. So obviously he was sentenced to a minimum of 40 years after his 60 years that he's serving for the child porn, so he will die in jail. Court was just a life-changing experience. I wish that more people could have fit in the courtroom, more people could have been there. I hope that people watched it and they saw, I mean, just how much sexual abuse can affect somebody. I hope that the enablers were watching because they know that people are coming for them, and there's already been people that are being arrested. I mean, Steve Penny was just arrested last week for tampering with evidence, so investigators are doing their job to keep holding these people accountable, which is really nice. Court was such a good closing statement for me in that time of my life. And I'm so thankful that I ended up giving a statement, because if I hadn't, I know I would still be kicking myself in the butt for it. So again, I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody that spoke in court, that got up on that stand and read from their paper, through their tears, through the sniffles, just through everything. I know it was so much adrenaline and scaredness and frustration and just, I mean, almost feeling numb when you're up there. But like I said, the feeling that you had when you were done was just unbelievable. And I will never ever forget the moment that those people started clapping in that courtroom after I spoke, because it made me realize that I have the strength and the courage to overcome this part of my life, and it doesn't define me. This was, yes, a long chapter in my life, 10 years of the abuse plus the 2 years now that we're going on trying to fight for justice from it. It's a long chapter in my life, but again, taking something bad and turning it into a positive is the main reason. So that is going to be it for this video. Oh, questions. Hold on. The first question is, when you gave your impact statement in court, did you say everything you wanted to? Absolutely, 100%. If you have not seen my statement from court, I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. I literally went off. Like, I held nothing back. I roasted a ton of people, and it was the best feeling ever, because they deserved it for all of the things that they did wrong and choosing to not protect us. And I say that choosing emphasized, because there were times where they could have done what was right and they chose not to. So me roasting all of those people was well deserved. So yes, I did say everything that I wanted to. Okay, so the next question is, do you think you would have regretted not going to court if you hadn't? I already answered this basically, but yes, 100%. I would still be thinking about it to this day if I never would have went to court. So I'm very glad that I did, and I'm glad that I ended up giving a statement. The next question is, what was it like seeing him in court and knowing that he couldn't hurt you? It was a very odd feeling, because, like I said, the person that you were seeing in court was not the same person that you thought Larry was. It was literally looking at someone like you're just meeting them for the first time, so it was odd. It was very weird. He would make eye contact with you. I've had people ask me that if he would actually look at us, and he would make eye contact, because I think he wanted you to feel guilty, like he wanted you to feel upset for him. So that was just, it was hard. It was tough to see him and make eye contact with him, but he was very skinny and scrawny. He just looked like he had like bags in his face. Like, he did not look good, you guys. Like, he looked rough, and like I said, he lost a ton of weight. He was scruffy. He just looked like after the first day, it looked almost like he was on drugs. Like, they had to give him something to calm him down. So he was just kind of like sitting there like blanked face. I don't know. It was really weird. But that is going to be it for the questions on this video. I did not get very many, but like I said, in general, I just had people ask me what court was like. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you got a little bit of the inside scoop on what court was like from the parts that I could tell you. If there are any questions, as always, that are left over from this video, please let me know. I will add them in. When you guys subscribe to me, turn the notification bell on, because the algorithm of YouTube is just weird, and even if you are subscribed to somebody, it doesn't always show when a video comes up. So turn on the notification bell so you will know when I upload the videos so you can see them, as well as I will be posting on Instagram and Twitter when I post them as well. So that is going to be the end of this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and please subscribe down below so you can see when the next videos are coming, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.